Oh yeah, everyone, conference weekend is here. Probably the second best weekend in college wrestling. We'll see rematches from the dual portion of the season, maybe rematches from even earlier in the year, some other fun storylines, probably someone will medical forfeit out and cause that debate to start up again. But overall, there will be some of the best wrestling of the season on TV from Friday afternoon until Sunday night, and we are here to cover it. For those who don't know, every conference has announced their allocations last week. So long story short, if you place in your conference in an allocated spot, you're going to nationals. And if you don't, you better pray for an at-large bid at least, but that's besides the point of this video. Today on good old TrueTan Wrestling, we are going to predict / make an educated guess on who will win every NCAA wrestling conference. I will also detail how to watch all the fun as well as we go. Now before we truly get started, I urge all of you to watch some conference competition this weekend. There is always fun drama and wrestling throughout. I also urge everyone to watch my documentary coming out the week of D1 NCAAs based on the 2018 NCAA rivalry between Penn State and Ohio State. Set to be released March 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I will link the trailer in the video along with down in the description. Now, with all my self-promotion out of the way, let's highlight every wrestling conference and their TrueTan supported prediction. To start, let's jump into the MAC. I know most people probably want me to talk about the Big Ten first, but we'll have to save that at the end just because there really isn't much to talk about there because of a specific team. However, in the MAC, I think it gets super interesting super quickly. Ryder won the east side of the MAC with Northern Illinois winning the west, which is cool to see some different teams win it because Lock Haven has been owning that conference for the past few years, especially after Missouri departed. With all that said though, I think Ryder has a lot better chance than Northern Illinois to win it all. For starters, no matter how many wrestlers get out, they place top 8, and Ryder has the best chance to get all 10 of their guys placing, which would be really hard to beat. With that said though, they don't have as many big guns as some of the other teams to make the finals. Lock Haven probably has 4 finalist favorites at 125 through 141. However, if you don't follow the MAC tournament year over year, there is a lot, and I mean a lot of upsets since everyone is so close to everyone's skill set, and in some weight classes, they're fighting for just one spot to make it out. That's actually one of the main reasons I like following the MAC so much because the tension and the storylines that get formed is just insane all weekend. But besides Lock Haven, my true pick to win the MAC this year is good old Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. The past 2 years, Ohio's had the guns to win it all, but fell into the upset game of MACs. This year, they were not the best dual team by any means, but I would argue they have 4 guys that could have bonus point champs from 157 to 184. They also have a few other wrestlers that can place in the top 4, but this tournament can get wild, so we will see if OU can get it done. A couple of those championship picks also have to do a little better than they're seeded right now. However, I'll still put all my faith in Ohio University this year. I mean, if I did this video 2 years ago and last year, I would have picked OU and they didn't really come close to winning it, so I ain't selling out yet, so let's roll. Action for MAC starts this Friday, March 8th and concludes Saturday, March 9th on ESPN+, so go check it out. Another conference that has more than one horse in the race is the Pac-12, which is all on the Pac-12 network, so if you can watch it, have fun, but usually I struggle to get it. Either way, I think the Pac-12 could have the most interesting team race out of every conference, starting Sunday, March 10th and also concluding March 10th, actually. Little Rock won the dual portion of the schedule this past season, which shout out to them for turning literally nothing into something pretty quickly, which is awesome to see. They might have maybe 5 or more national qualifiers, which is the most in school history, obviously. On the other hand, I do think they can still win the tournament portion of the Pac-12, but I also think Oregon State has a little bit more depth for winning in later rounds and more championship power. The same can oddly be said for Arizona State as well, who on paper might not be the best team, but they are starting to return to form and have more of a chance to overcome their seeds than the other Pac-12 teams at the moment. A key weight for Arizona State is easily 141 with Jesse Vasquez returning to the fold for them, but Cleveland Bolton for Oregon State at 141 is no pushover, but obviously if Vasquez can overcome his seed and win the tournament, that's huge unexpected points. Muñez and Olguin also need to win for Oregon State to even have a nice chance at the conference, conference. And of course, 125 is going to have a massive implication for every single team and even Stanford if they have a chance. Stanford is redshirting a lot of those freshman all-stars who really balled out at CKLV, so I don't really think they'll be in the hunt, but honestly, anything can happen in this small conference, so we'll see. But right now, I say there's about 3 teams chasing it, with Little Rock, Arizona State, and then my final pick, which is Oregon State, to go back-to-back on Pac-12 titles. Then we can move to the conference that's basically a 2-horse race. The ACC, with Virginia Tech and NC State battling it out once again. ACCs can be watched on ACC Extras, which is a part of the ESPN Plus package, and then the finals will be on the ACC Network, all taking place during Sunday, March 10th. Another small conference, but usually there is something crazy that happens at every single weight class, so strap in and have fun watching. Now, I do think the ACC is a lot deeper than the past few years, but no one is touching the 2 teams of NC State and Virginia Tech. In my opinion, I think NC State is going to keep the trophy in Raleigh. They also won the dual portion of the conference just a few weeks ago to wrap up the regular season. My reasoning is NC State has way more championship potential. However, one plus side to being a small conference is a lot of Virginia Tech wrestlers are favored to also make the finals. So if Virginia Tech can switch some of those dual meet losses in the finals around, it could potentially get a little closer for their ACC title hopes. For example, 125 and 133, despite what happened in the duel, are still huge swing matches in my opinion, especially Latona versus Orini. Oddly enough, 141 is a huge one because Matthews of Pitt will be the number 1 seed, which likely means the NC State wrestler and the Virginia Tech wrestler will both be on the same side of the bracket, which if so facto, only one of them will make the finals getting those points. Overall though, something crazy will eventually happen very early in the tournament, in the middle of the tournament, and then the late finals of the ACC. But I'm voting the Wolfpack all day for ACC champs this year. Now, while we are on the East Coast, let's talk about a little SoCon action, which once again is a battle between 2 teams in Appalachian State and Campbell, which these 2 teams have been going to battle for what seems like forever in this conference now, but I'm always down for a little bit of fun down in the SoCon. This is another one-day tournament, but on March 9th, which is the Saturday for conference weekend, and it will all be on ESPN Plus. So if you haven't noticed, ESPN with that little plus at the end of it is very worth it for all wrestling fans, but that's kind of besides the point of the video. The big key to victory for both teams are during the bookends of the tournament. App State is pretty dang tough from 125 to 157, so they'll really need to win there and even flip some losses against Campbell. Campbell also has some strong contenders there too, so some of these swing matches could really decide this tournament at the end of the day. However, I'm picking Campbell at the end of the day to win the SoCon, but not because they have a legit shot to win those swing matches, like at 133 or 125, but because they are loaded in spots App State is just not very strong. From 165 up, Campbell is more than likely going to be the heavy favorite to win the SoCon bracket, with heavyweight Gialdi probably a pick to bonus his way through the conference tournament. The only way, in my opinion, App State beats Campbell is if every single swing match goes their way, some of Chattanooga's wrestlers or even the field knocks off some of Campbell's wrestlers, or they just totally ball out this weekend. Either way, I'm sticking with Campbell until, well, proven otherwise. Then there is the final conference before we get into the big conferences, the EIWA, and I'll keep this one pretty short because it's a 2-horse race, but not really at the same time, and it hurts for me to say that. Lehigh and Cornell are more than likely going to be the top dogs this weekend in the EIWA. Sadly, the last time the EIWA will have the Ivy League schools before they make their own conference. With that said, I think Cornell is honestly going to run away with this title. I'll stick with the fact that Lehigh can maybe outplace them at nationals, but Cornell has way too many projected finalists and champs compared to Lehigh. Lehigh does have some depth to compete with Cornell, and in the EIWA, I mean, it is the biggest conference, so wild stuff happens round over round, but I just think it's going to be hard for them to compete with Cornell in this tournament setting. Usually when a team needs a lot to go wrong for the other team they're trying to knock out, it usually blows up in their face and just doesn't work. Which again, I really hate saying that because I love Lehigh, but I gotta roll with Cornell for this pick. With that said though, the EIWAs is a lot like Max, where there's a lot of teams competing for very little spots to auto qualify. So there's a lot of similar talent levels battling it out to get those final spots. I mean, last year in the semifinals were absolutely crazy here, so anything can really happen. Big weights for Lehigh are 125, 133, 197 and heavyweight obviously. Those are their big guns, so they need to perform. And whatever they can do in between is just an added bonus. Cornell, on the other hand, needs to switch results at 125 and 133, along with plenty of their seeds at 141 all the way up to 174. Finally, you can watch every round on Flow Wrestling for the EIWA Championships, and I highly recommend it. It's the largest conference in NCAA wrestling for now, and there's always fun happening. Then we reached the Big 12, which might have the tightest and most competitive team race out of all the conferences. For starters, the three-horse race is between Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and the returning Big 12 champs, Missouri. You know, I'd even throw South Dakota State in there, but I think they're more of a landmine team that could hurt one of these other three's chances, but I'll give them the shout out. Before I dive too deep into it, here's a little pros and cons list for the three teams that I think could potentially win the Big 12. Oklahoma State has looked pretty solid all season with a good blend of old guys doing their championship level wrestling and young guys stepping into the fold nicely. A con for them, their only down performance besides the Iowa duel was them not doing too well at the biggest in-season tournament of the year, which will probably be pretty similar to the level of Big 12, so that's a little concerning. Missouri is a returning champs, but is coming off a big team sickness weekend. However, they have some huge firepower, and firepower usually means a lot of bonus points. However, all their big guns are at the deepest weight classes here, like Keegan O'Toole being in probably the toughest conference weight in the entire country. Then there is Iowa State, who has won CKLV, which, like I said, is probably going to be very similar to the level of Big 12s, but they have a lot of big guns and a ton of vulnerabilities. However, when they're clicking on all levels, they are very deadly, but when they are not clicking on all levels, their likelihood of winning Big 12s is very slim, and they could fall apart very early. Now, I really want to do a big build up for who I thought was going to win Big 12s, and it was all going to come down to Carr versus O'Toole for the conference champion, where if Olynyk took third, Oklahoma State could stay alive, if maybe O'Toole lost. But similar to the MAC, there's just way too many variables, and it is like the variables on steroids in the Big 12. So to be honest, I really have no idea who's going to win Big 12s. Who do I want to win? I mean, I really like UNI, so that'd be pretty awesome. I think they're crazy, and purple's an awesome color, so yeah. But in all reality, I'm probably going to go with Iowa State, even though I see where their vulnerabilities are. But if they overcome them, I think they're going to blow the doors off this tournament. I think Kevin Dressler will have them ready, but ultimately it's going to come down to who gets the most finalists and who wants it more in the finals. Also, if you want to watch the Big 12s, it's going to be on, yep, you guessed it, ESPN Plus Saturday and Sunday, with the finals being on ESPN2 Sunday night. Then for all you Big Ten homers, here we are, and if you want to watch Big Tens, all of it will be on Big Ten Plus, with the finals on Sunday on good old Big Ten Network. Now let's keep this very quick. Even with Carter Strake's injury, I'm going Penn State. Even if he forfeits out of the tournament, yeah, I'm still going Penn State. I don't really think I had to go into too much depth or detail, but I'll say this. In my opinion, Iowa should have used Keeter and Arnold, because I think they could have made Big Tens interesting, and I think they would have been the for sure pick for the second place team in NCAAs. I'm not picking Iowa by any means, and even if Staraki's out in that previous scenario, I still think Penn State wins it. But it definitely would have been a little bit more entertaining from a fan perspective, but hey, at TrueTan Wrestling, we just love awesome wrestling, and that's kind of what the Big Ten's known for, so I'm here for it no matter who wins. Now, I hope you all enjoy this video, because I know I had a blast making it. I just love thinking of all the scenarios that could happen at conference weekend, because 99% of the time, there's about 100 things that you never thought you'd see coming. And I think you'll all enjoy it too, so I highly recommend you watch your favorite conference and peek over at some other ones if you got a chance. There will be great storylines, which you all know we love here at TrueTan Wrestling. There will be drama from the early afternoon session of Max on Friday all the way to the Big Ten Finals on Sunday. Now, I thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy the weekend, or whatever time of the week you're watching this video. Take care, everybody.